Sigaleli Africa, Maluparayisu Ponolayo, Israeli Mthandazo Gatya, Kosi Sigalela China, Lusapolwayo, Murena Buluka Sichama Saesu. Usibuluke, sichabasa, Jesus, sichabasa, South Africa, South Africa.
The Government Communication and Information System was formally established in terms of Section 239 of the Constitution as a strategic unit in the Presidency. The GCIS vision is to be the pulse of communication excellence in government by delivering best practice in communication service and by engaging with citizens and other stakeholders. GCIS is mandated to coordinate, guide, and advise on government communication, which includes media liaison development, communication, and marketing. The coordination of communication ensures that government messaging is clear and coherent, and that public information allows citizens to access services and resources that can help them improve their quality of life and build stronger and empowered communities. The Director General and Accounting Officer of the GCIS is also the Cabinet spokesperson. GCIS's three key core programs are corporate services, content processing and dissemination, intergovernmental coordination and stakeholder management. Corporate services provide strategic leadership management and support service to the department. Content processing and dissemination is a hub of campaign management, media buying, communications research, print and online publishing, and social engagement. The products and platforms produce Vukuzenzele newspaper, the Public Sector Manager magazine, the South Africa Yearbook, and the Official Guide to South Africa. The sub-program provides language service for products that require writing, translation, editing, and proofreading. It manages the South African government web portal and the GCIS website, as well as social engagement. Products and Platforms is also the home of the government news agency sanews.gov.za, which keeps citizens in South Africa and stakeholders on the continent and around the world updated on developments in government and the public sector more broadly. Policy and Research conducts research through independent service providers to assess how government should address the public's information needs. It also monitors the media coverage of issues affecting government in the country. The GCIS's Communication Service Agency provides media bulk buying services and media production services to government. It also develops distribution strategies for all government communication and overseers distribution services that are contracted to service providers in the private sector. The sub-program manages national government's corporate identity and supports GCIS and other government departments with marketing and distribution services. The agency produces content for out-of-home placement, print and broadcast advertising, and designs commemorative and occasional publications. Photographic and audiovisual crews are deployed around the country and around the world to document the activities of the President, Deputy President, and other government leaders. GCIS's entity oversight provides support and exercises oversight over public entities and report to GCIS to ensure that government is sound and ethical and that the entity programs are impactful. The two public entities resorting under the GCIS are Brand South Africa, or in short, Brand SA, and the Media Development and Diversity Agency, or the MDDA. Media Policy conducts research and develops policy proposals around the development of the media sector in South Africa. The third and final GCIS program is Intergovernmental Coordination and Stakeholder Management. Its purpose is to provide leadership and strategic advice to provincial and local government communication systems. Its aim is to strengthen the system of government communication and to implement face-to-face direct communication through sound stakeholder relations and partnerships. It also has to ensure that the public remains informed about government policies and programs to improve their lives. Media engagement leads and drives interaction and communication between government and the media. The unit ensures effective liaison between ministers, senior public servants, and the media. Provincial and local liaison implements outreach programs to widen access to government programs and policies by the public. The sub-program is responsible for promoting Tusong service centers as well as ensuring that government departments send printed products and materials to these centers. It also supports the district campaign program of government in line with the district development model. The Government Communication and Information System is committed to maintaining a constant flow of communication between government and its citizens, a hallmark of true democracy.
Good day, good day, good day, and welcome to the GCIS Africa series. Today, we're privileged to have people from all the way from Cape Town to Ethiopia. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to this Heritage Month celebrating the legacy of Solomon Linda and the South African indigenous music. I won't take so much of the time. We've got a bumper program from artists that are making it in the world to the academic side, the legal side, and as well as the Department of Arts and Culture that is the lead department in the Heritage Month. But to start with, I think I'm going to introduce my very own Director General, Ms. Pumla Williams from GCIS, to give us the keynote address.
Thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, DG.
Thank you very much, Program Director, fellow government communicators, and ladies and gentlemen from the rest of Africa and in South Africa. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for accepting our invitation to join us today as we celebrate our rich cultural heritage and also to close the Heritage Month in South Africa with us. Let me start by extending a word of appreciation to my colleagues at the GCIS and Brand South Africa, who continue to ensure we form part of the continent in our broadened conversations. A special word of appreciation to Mail and Guardian and the Asham Television from Ethiopia, who are today partnering with us in this webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, 50 years ago, exactly 50 years ago, the United Nations UNESCO adopted the World Heritage Convention. The purpose of this convention was to ensure the world takes an interest in the nature conservation and the preservation of the cultural sites in the world. In 2005, the convention proclaimed the 5th of May as the African World Heritage Day. This was to get the world to celebrate the continental's cultural and natural heritage. Today, over 40% of the heritage sites inscribed in the World Heritage List are from our beautiful continent. The significance of this convention was further strengthened through the Aspiration 5 of the African Union Agenda 2063, which calls for an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics. It makes a clarion call to member states to strive for the African cultural renaissance, which is to tap into Africa's rich heritage and culture. It is to boost the creative arts, which was a major contributor to Africa's economic growth and socio-cultural transformation. It calls on for the restoration and preservation of Africa's cultural heritage, including its diverse languages. As a shared goal, the inclusive growth and sustainable development for Africa, the Agenda 2063 also propels us to work towards tapping into our rich cultural heritage for the benefit of present and future generations. We also need to harness the cultural richness of our continent by acknowledging its beautiful landscapes. We need to set our focus firmly towards achieving the great vision of the Africa we want. Since South Africa declared the 24th of September as a Heritage Day in 1995, the month of September has annually been dedicated to activities and conversations which promote the preservation and celebration of our cultural heritage. As part of this Heritage Month celebration, which coincides with the Tourism Month, South Africans are, among others, encouraged to take short left tours to the different parts of our beautiful country and visit our historical, cultural, and recreational sites. We should also promote the desire by our citizens to visit other African countries to boost the regional tourism and economic development in the continent. This year, our Heritage Month celebrates the activities under the theme, I quote, celebrating the legacy of Solomon Linda and South Africa's indigenous music. The theme pays tribute to the 60th anniversary of the passing of the singer and the composer, Mr. Solomon Linda. He is best known as a composer of the song Mbube, which was later made popular through the Lion Sleeps Tonight. It gave its name to the Mbube style of isicathamiya in South Africa, which is a cappella music. Just like many artists, Mr. Linda used music to tell the South African story, and in so doing, took our nation to the world. Our artists used music effectively to tell the world about the hardships and the living conditions during the apartheid era. However, their bravery came at a cost, as the apartheid government punished those who spoke out against the injustices in the country. For instance, those who spoke against the apartheid regime, such as Mama Miriam Makeba, may her soul rest in peace, saw their music being removed from the shelves in the South African music stores. They were also deprived of royalties that were due to them. It is against this background that our government in 1994 amended the relevant legislation to protect the creative work of artists to ensure they make a decent living from their music. Ladies and gentlemen, the power of music to unite and inspire people is well known. Through music, we form bonds with others and venture out beyond our own small circles. Music will continue to unite and inspire. However, it is up to us to use it in galvanizing power to the betterment of the country and the future of our generation. Now, more than ever, our nation needs open and honest conversations about our challenges and divisions. Our democratic breakthrough in 1994 has moved us forward, but the deep scars from our ugly past still remain. Just as Solomon Linda chose to use his music to create a greater social cohesion and unity, we too must find ways within our spheres to influence and to make a fundamental change in our society. A change that strengthens social cohesion in South Africa and in the continent as a whole. A change that should also appreciate the economic benefits for the artists. We cannot afford to stand by and hope that our challenges will disappear or be resolved by someone else. We can only move forward as a nation by channeling our collective energies towards a common destiny. We need solid partnerships between government, citizens, and civil society to better deal with the issues that affect communities on a daily basis. We need creative artists to help us build a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, united, and a prosperous society based on justice, equality, and the rule of law as envisaged in our Constitution. We also need to realize the economic potential of the cultural and the creative sector as envisaged in our Agenda 2063 as pronounced by the AU. In conclusion, Program Director, let me say as we close the Heritage Month, please allow me to reiterate our desire to work towards a South Africa that is part of the continent's drive to promote a strong cultural identity, common heritage, and shared values. I trust we will engage in fruitful collective reflections that build our continent to become stronger and united in pursuit of a bigger vision of the Africa we want. Lastly, I would like to wish all of you present here today a happy Heritage Month. I thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, DG, for those inspiring words, inspiring us to really, really look back into what we are doing daily to achieve the Africa we want and the vision of the AU 2063. I'm going to bring in now Ms. Mandisa Chekwatwamba, the Deputy Director General of the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, as a department that spearheads and leads this change of social cohesion that the DG has spoken about. I'm going to give it over to you, Mandisa. Maybe you can share and elaborate more about the purpose of the Heritage Month and what your department is doing to ensure that the values and the principles that DG was talking about are spread throughout from Cape Town to Addis Ababa. Over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone, and I am aware that it's not just South Africa that is here, it's all the Africans from different corners of Africa. I think what I am going to do is just to give a short recap in terms of what the Heritage Month in South Africa has been all about. And starting with us, the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, to say what is our role in this. Our role in this is that we are part of government, and the celebration of the Heritage Month, it's part of the national program where we are celebrating our national and special days. And in this regard, this work is sitting deeply in what we call our medium-term strategic framework, where there are various priority areas, and we are doing this work under priority 6. And this is part of the work that helps us as government collectively to foster social cohesion and nation building. And therefore, we are, as South Africans, looking across all aspects that bring forward our identity and bring forward our celebration of the Heritage Month. And I think the collection of those things showcased during the work that we did and that we are continuing to do. And we shall be doing this work beyond September month, because for us, this is part of saying, let us take pride in our nationality and our being as South Africans, and in our interconnectiveness and interconnectedness with the rest of Africa. And allow me to say that this is part of what we talk to as cultural diplomacy when we are going across the borders of South Africa, and it is enshrined in the cultural policy. And this Heritage Month, it's part of the tools that we use in fostering socio-economic development, aiming at growing our cultural capital and making sure that we are promoting local identity and we are promoting our cultural diversity. We did stage the South African celebration of the Heritage Month at the Union Buildings on the 24th of September. However, I must be quick to say the celebration of this month and in this year, the DG has already mentioned the theme that we used when we celebrated and as we continue to celebrate. And to celebrate this month is to celebrate one's heritage, meaning to take pride in all that make us unique as South Africans in the form of our songs, dance, attire, and language. And in doing so, we are also celebrating the stories of South Africans in various ways, the lives of South Africans in various ways that showed during the activities of this month. In other words, this is about celebrating who we are in many and in various versions of ourselves, as we are called the Rainbow Nation, meaning we have different things through which our identity shows. And I must say that as well, the Heritage Month is an ideal way and a deliberate platform for us to create and foster national unity and build national pride and forge social cohesion. I continue on what the DG has already started in terms of the theme of the 2022 National Heritage Month. Each year, we focus the nation's attention on a specific topic, out of which we would arise with major points of discussions. The intentions in this year and in other years is to get South Africans to be in conversations with one another, particularly addressing certain things. And I will be talking to those things in terms of what showcased during this month of celebrating our being. And I want to say as well that progressing further and in the future, we shall continue to be informed by the people of South Africa in terms of how best to celebrate our national days, and in particular, the Heritage Day. I do want to connect as well with how we launched the Heritage Month, as we launched it on the 2nd of September. And ideally, though I think it was by sheer coincidence that we launched it on the grounds of one of our pioneer museums, which is the Ditsong Museum. And of course, the theme has already been given, celebrating the legacy of Solomon Linda and South Africa's indigenous music. Perhaps it is worth for me to mention, to say, why are we celebrating Solomon Linda? This is one of the leading trailblazers who sold and produced by composing isitatamiya genre, most popular as it became in KwaZulu-Natal and as it transcended, crossing into other provinces, into other regions of Africa and globally. Who can say this music has died with the passing on of Solomon Linda? Definitely not, because we have seen this being one of the globally popular genres in terms of Imbube, which became one of South Africa's signature sounds overseas, and isitatamiya further connected to the source of what art is through song, dance, poetry, and storytelling, as we will realize that is all a combination when you are experiencing and being entertained by isitatamiya. We have seen how music has united us as South Africans and how music has connected us with others in other parts of the globe. And this had no time in terms of limitations, because it has been during our apartheid times and during our democratic era. Music continues to heal us, to inspire us, and it continues to enable us to cross boundaries. And I must say, still talking about Solomon Linda, this is the character that has shown us things that we can say it's a legacy that he has left us with. The legacy of resilience, the legacy of being a visionary, the legacy of connecting with others, and the legacy of making sure that in what he or she is doing as one who is taking upon this legacy ensures that you never leave others behind, and what you do, it's for the nation. And I must continue to say, still focusing on the National Heritage Month, the focus for us as the department has been to ensure that we showcase the power of music in transforming us as the nation, but as well the power of music as part of our heritage, and in ensuring that we stimulate something in our policies that ensures that we give and we take pride in our tangible and intangible heritage. I do want to mention, for example, that we have implemented the framework of preserving the intangible cultural heritage espoused by our human living treasures. In South Africa, we have individuals who are the reservoirs of our unique indigenous knowledge and skills. And this is what we have done in a programmatic manner. But further on, we have showcased it when we were launching the Heritage Month. We've showcased it by making sure that within the program of the Heritage Month, we are recognizing the living legends, the mentioning of our Mama Abigail Kubeka, Letambulu, Peter Magubane. You may ask me why Peter Magubane. I will tell that later as part of this overview. Caiphas Msimenya, James Matthews, and all these are people that we have documented their life stories, but we have gone further to recognize others. I'll make mention of Dr. Latozi Madosini Mpahleni in the rural areas in the parts of this country, generally known as the former Transkei. And we have made sure that this matriarch of music and of indigenous music, as well, the Lifetime Award winner, is recognized during this month. And this, for us, it's something that says we are using this month as well to document the stories, our unsung heroes. And we have done this further by making sure that we're working with our entity, the National Film and Video Foundation, to commission films that are documenting the stories and the history of liberation, of heritage and culture of South Africa, using certain figures in South Africa, and making sure that we have a collection of our living and past legends, making sure that their legacy is upheld. I am also taking the opportunity to say we are using this month to celebrate cultural diversity beyond songs and dance. We have also not forgotten our cultural identity through our dress code. Notable in the program of this Heritage Month has been the carnival that has been alongside the formal program. And I think for us as well, it is appropriate, because if you are thinking about Istatamia, we are thinking about a specific dress code, which goes to what I'm saying, that through our dress code, there is also rich of heritage and rich of what defines us as South Africans and defines us as Africans. And we have recognized as well the fact that when we are talking music, we are talking about languages, because without a language, there is no music. So part of the program has looked into the indigenous languages as the key in giving content and expressions and meaning in our heritage. And in that, we have done a couple of activities that espouse that. And I must say that we are acknowledging as well what the president also emphasized in his speech to the nation, that we have to be proud of our languages and indigenous music and give them utility and currency. At the most practical level, we can increase the utility and currency of our indigenous languages by speaking these languages almost routinely without fail. To our children, we have a responsibility of teaching them our languages. And I must say, towards my closing statement, tangible and intangible heritage forms are a crucial part of this cultural capital and need to be safeguarded. Touching on what has to be safeguarded as part of our heritage and culture are our societal values. And we can use our culture and heritage to ignite positive action in addressing our social ills. One of the worrying social ills that has engulfed South Africa is gender-based violence and femicide, as fueled by patriarchal norms. And I'm mentioning this because others tend to look at the edges of our culture and heritage to foster these social ills. As part of the discussion points for the Heritage Month, we have also worked out with our partners in ensuring that the messaging on the Heritage Month also highlights the plight of women and young girls. As mentioned earlier, the department, which is DSEC, supported performing arts institutions and productions during this month, some of which focused entirely on GBVF, and with a rider that says GBVF cannot be part of the culture and heritage of our society. Since I say through all forms of culture and heritage, we detract and we object towards any of these social ills. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, DDG. I think your words really broaden the theme. They broaden it that music is not only a language and a culture that moves us and inspire us for better behaviors. And I think it's quite befitting that we do use music and culture as the inheritance of how we used to live and how we wish to live and how we should be living in a positive manner. So I think we're gonna bring now a video that of a musician that actually practices what you were talking about. I'm going to start with the video and then I will bring in, I want to first, before you listen to this song, just to remind you that you need to also join the conversation and share some of the points that you heard from the departments of arts and culture and as well as GCIS by hashtagging GCIS Africa webinars. Please, let's hear the video.
You forever, I'm certain, 'cause I still get nervous. Uvela wena yesa uvela nyataka se matola yakaka se ushona wena ngeka uphoxa wena yesa ubebe nyataka se mabebe nyasaba mina ngizothanda kuvala senza abantwana ngenza abazali bajabule phakathi ngizothanda kuvala senza abantwana ngenza abazali bajabule phakathi. When you walk through the door and you look in my eyes, yeah, it feels like the very first time. I could fall for you forever, I'm certain, 'cause I still get nervous when your lips hit my lips and the fireworks fly, sending sparks through the air. I'm certain, 'cause I still get nervous.
Yeah, ni vile gelonto. Mthandazo Gatya, the South African indigenous singer, songwriter, TikTok viral artist, collaborating with the John Legend on his song Nervous. And today we are privileged to hear the artist himself to share the experience. Who was nervous? Was he nervous, or was John Legend nervous when they met? Over to you.
Good day, Mthandazo speaking. Mthandazo is a singer, songwriter from South Africa, a very young man who takes pride in African languages. He sings and expresses himself at all cost through South African languages. Mthandazo went viral in South Africa, even crossed over to Africa and America through a TikTok challenge by John Legend, which was meant for everyone to join in. Mthandazo listened to the song and he could feel that it needs some African rhythm. It needs some African touch. Took a chance, recorded the verse in isiZulu, because I believe that what makes us unique, and if you also track down the history of most successful South African musicians abroad, is actually artists who went abroad to sing in our languages. The likes of Mamu Miriam Makeba, the likes of Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, the likes of the late Babu, Hugh Masekela. The list is endless. To the late also Solomon Linda, whose song is part of the Lion King. So I felt also as a young person, it is also important for me to take pride in our indigenous languages. And it so happened that really it hit the nerve when John Legend surprised me with a visit in South Africa and asked that I join him on stage to perform what I did. Also appreciating the fact that he is going viral in South Africa because of me and the video I did. So he would love to share this moment with me. So I'm trying to say with this that music is a universal language. What is very important is to put it to good use. I'm one of those people who go to studio hoping that my song, even if it doesn't sell much, if it doesn't become the most popular, but it will stay in the hearts of at least one or two individuals. That is why I have an album also called The New Age Healer, which some people still call me by that name now, The New Age Healer, where my focus is entirely aimed at the soul, educating a young kid, getting to puberty, and just about, bringing in positive message that will build the nation. So as a young person that is also, part of this webinar, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for acknowledging me and just appreciating and recognizing the inputs and I've had also in the past few weeks, in promoting the African music, to find yourself in a stage with, such a renowned artist, an artist that is known in the entire world, to be in that stage singing in our language. I feel it is something that really needs to be celebrated. And I'm grateful that you took this opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge the impact I've had. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. That's incredible, man. That's an inspiring story, and I really I'm pleased that young people are really using indigenous music to express to the world who they are, the authentic self. And I think it's incredible that John Legend himself realizes this. Not the before and after. The story of Solomon Linda was the before, and now the after. It means a lot to young artists, and I think it means a lot to the country. And as you say that music is a universal language that we should enhance and encourage that everybody in South Africa, you can be anything. You need to be playing music to reconnect with who you are, to connect with yourself, and to connect with others. Imagine if you didn't sing, you would have been possibly connected with John Legend. And someone's going to be telling us more about connection and about more of the nation brand and the contributions of music into the nation brand is Shamiso Hlachwayo, currently an acting general manager of research in Brand South Africa. She has a wide range experience in providing strategic insights for the purposes of nation branding and reputation management. Shamiso, please tell us, what are the stats saying, what are the indices telling us about our African music and the role and the value it adds into this economy and into the world?
Thank you very much, Ayanda, for that introduction. Unfortunately, for this particular platform, I will not be sharing direct indices or indicators. Instead, I just want to speak about what the young gentleman before me really touched on, and the DDG as well, about what is the essence. What is the essence that music, or more broadly, what does heritage, what does it speak to as the sense of being, or the foundation of then our national identity, which obviously is the fundamental building block of our nation brand. And before I go to that, I think I need to speak about a very important concept, which is collective memory, because you can't speak about collective memory without speaking about heritage, because our heritage, just like we are commemorating this month to the likes of Solomon Linda, that's already, it's a memory, and it's a function of heritage. And what is the purpose of collective memory? Memory is an active, non-stop procedure which takes place in social contexts and is inevitably influenced by them. Collective memory determines and is determined by the societies in which it takes place. Collective memory, thus, is an important function in every society since it preserves and transfers society's cultural capital, perpetuating its existence. Can you imagine? That is so important, because it is that very fiber that defines us as South Africans. And as a diverse country with different memories, it's a very complex undertaking that we've been given the task to complete, because you can imagine that putting together our diversity, as well as assigning our heritage to that diversity, as well as being able to identify and unlock the collective memories that connect us to make us a South Africa, is particularly complex, but particularly unique for the country that is South Africa. And us as Brand South Africa, when we tell our story to the world, and when we tell our story to ourselves as a country, we are very intentional with stating what it is that makes us unique, and what it is that makes us stand out from everyone else. And that is our memories, our heritage, and our national identity. So we believe at Brand South Africa that a society's history shapes the identity of its members, and particularly in terms of heritage, it leaves a deep imprint on those who experience them, especially as our previous speakers mentioned, especially on young people who are in the process of constructing their identities going forward. And we know that our young people are the future of our country. Now, if we continue to endeavor on platforms such as these and use significant months in highlighting key stories about unique South African experiences, especially insofar as they relate to heritage, collective memory, they essentially contribute to the fiber that holds us together, and that creates the foundation of our social cohesion, of what unites us as a nation, and also and what drives us in building the country that we all know we can achieve, and the country that we all know we deserve, but more importantly, the country that the whole world continually looks towards for inspiration. And the reason why I say that is because we need to expand our scope of heritage beyond cultural and ethnic identities, not discard them, but see them as essential building blocks for creating a society driven towards diversity, inclusion, equality, and shared principles. As Brand South Africa, our extensive research rather, on what makes a nation, or more specifically on what makes South Africa, we've found that it is not a static endeavor, but an ever-evolving process that is really made up of of a number of parts that, when put together, paint the picture of a nation. Thus, as we come to the end of Heritage Month, our understanding and appreciation of our unique heritage shows a kaleidoscope of colors, flavors, sounds, heartbeats, all united through passion and unwavering zeal to thrive against all odds. This unique makeup is what sets South Africa apart from the rest of the world, especially now more than ever when issues of heritage, identity, and diversity are revealing the true consequences of concealing old wounds and not addressing them directly, like South Africa has done since its democratic transition in 94. Therefore, just to end off, as Brand South Africa, we recognize that our rich heritage and our rich diversity is the essential fiber that makes us who we are as South Africans. And it's our unique selling point to the rest of the world. We as a nation have so much potential. And if we continue to work towards the positive aspects, the aspects that unite, the aspects that also highlight our diversity, but also highlight our unique ability to bring that diversity together to make up what is a nation, is our strength and continues to be our unique selling point. Thank you very much. And I implore everyone who's tuned in today and who's joined into the webinar to believe in SA. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I really, really like the take you're making of the collective memory. Who are we without our memory? And memory not as history, memory as pointers of change, and what happened before and what is happening now could be exactly the same in just different spectrum. And I think in what you're saying, it reminds me of the next speaker where I met her in China. I think we're having a conversation about the 125 years of the Battle of Adwa in Ethiopia. And I asked myself, I wonder what songs were they singing? Today we have Tiblet Dejane, a journalist and an assistant producer at Asham Television, based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. She has 5 years experience in the industry, and she continues covering various issues in Ethiopia and East African interest. And as I said, that she is quite involved even in the environment and the climate change issues. And today we thought we'll just get a perspective of the indigenous music. As you know, Ethiopia is a world on its own when it comes to the deep, deep memory that Shamisa was talking about. Over to you. Tiblet, can you hear us? Please go ahead.
I can hear you. Hello, everyone. As you mentioned before, my name is Tiblet Tesfaye from Ethiopia. I work in a private television called Asham. Our television now making program with not only on Ethiopia, also national content. Apart from political and economy issue, pays attention to further event that strengthens social and continental unity. In addition to providing daily news, entertainment coverage of events around in the world, we have programs that showcase in Africa appearance, culture, history, and connections. Before I get the main point, allow me to express my pleasure to participate in the Heritage Month webinar event. The fact that it's the sixth anniversary of the death of Solomon Linda, a singer and songwriter whom especially we love and respect, make it special. As we know, Africa is rich in cultural heritage. This range from the tangible heritage to the intangible heritage. The various element heritage provide community with the opportunity to establish an activity relationship between present and past. A cultural heritage is expansion of the way of living developed by community and passed on from the generation to generation, including customs, community, practice, places, object, artistic expansion, and values. Cultural heritage is often exposed as either intangible or tangible cultural heritage, according to e-commerce. As a part of human activity, cultural heritage produces tangible representation of the value system, beliefs, tradition, and lifestyle. An essential part of the culture as whole, cultural heritage contains these visible and tangible roots from antiquity to the recent past. Africa tradition are explored through music, art, dance, and spectrum of African tradition is explored through many different art forms, such as music, dance, and the work. These traditions are deeply ingrained into the whole African culture. As a journalist, I believe that African cultural heritage now began recognized all over the world. But I don't think it is enough. So I think a lot needs to be done, especially it brings out to tuber culture. I believe that countries like South Africa, which are particularly rich in cultural heritage, should share their experience with the people like Ethiopia by promoting their culture through music, drama films, lifestyle, marriage ceremony, food, and clothing. True Ethiopian is rich in cultural heritage, both tangible and intangible. We have not introduced it in proper way, as I think. I'm very proud, not only as a journalist but as an African, for celebrating September as Heritage Month with various events. It creates a great attempt to protect, promote our heritage as deserves. Thank you so much for the opportunity on the occasion. Finally, I promise that our television station will work with you permanently in this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. I think one thing we didn't mention that Tiblet is actually an amazing singer herself. I don't know if we should sing us a phrase or two. Would you be keen to do that if I put you on the spot?
I'm sorry. What
I was
kind
saying
song?
it will be incredible to hear just a phrase of a song from Ethiopia, and I know you've got a great voice for it. Can you please share us just one verse?
Okay. Ethiopia, ሀገራችን Ethiopia, ሀገራችን Ethiopia. Thank you so much.
Awesome, 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 awesome. With such beautiful voice, I think I'm gonna bring the legend in the group, Mr. Andile Yanana. I'm sure everyone knows Andile, South African great pianist, award-winning artist. A privilege to speak to you, good sir. I know you are hard at work teaching young kids at the TVH College of Ikamalake. So I thought you probably would share us the memory of the music and the memories of isicathamiya, and probably the conversations you also shared with the late Zimqawana on such music and the indigenous music. Can you please give us your understanding and knowledge, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to express, some of the views I have on a wide range of topics regarding South African music, from jazz to Statamia to, there's a whole lot, there's quite an array of things to talk about when it comes to this great heritage that we have. And the one thing that I think underpins the whole idea of being a musician in South Africa, a cultural person, is the resilience that, those who've come before us, present. It's individual sacrifices that we see in these people. It's individual contributions where people leave their homes and make it in the world and become, well-renowned musicians and artists. Same thing, happened with the music of Solomon Linda. Although he never, went out of the country, but his music did, go out. It was sneaked out. We all know how it did. We know how, a lot of money was made out of this whole situation, right up to, your Walt Disney's, the money-making machine in entertainment. All of these, outlets and making money and also, making it, the music, the composition itself, accessible to a whole lot of us. I only know about the version that was done, via United States of America, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. That's the only version that I found out about, growing up as well. And I happened to have like an opportunity to talk to my students, just in preparation for this kind of talk that we are having now today. I explained a little bit about this composition. I didn't mention the name of the composition. We do music business here at the school. So I just spoke a little bit about royalties and all of that stuff and copyrights and all of that stuff. I explained how the song was, transported out of the country and the financial returns that accrued to a whole lot of people. And somehow Beyonce as well on a second phase, and then Walt Disney. And then I mentioned afterwards to them, I said, the name of the tune is Mbube. And they were like, oh, wow, that's the song. And I'm like, yes, that's the song. And they wanted to hear the original version of the composition. So I presented it to them and they were listening to it. And of course, the difference is quite, is quite huge. The other version is really, really watered down. I think it is made palatable, to the world. And then the other one, is beautiful as well. But you could tell with there's leanings towards the one that is already, been there in the public domain. But my question then followed up in terms of the word iskatamiya. And I said to them, I asked them, what does iskatamia mean? Katama. Because how I understand it, from the Nguni language, is to be tippy-toeing, not firmly on the ground. And this is exactly what they said. They even mentioned Totoza and all of that stuff. And this has been, at the back of my mind for a long time. That this music is a music that was birthed in an urban situation where there was all sorts of surveillances and oppression during apartheid, and the fact that people couldn't express themselves, the way they knew, it was quite, very like ingenious for them to be able to come up with something and express themselves, but be tippy-toeing at the same time and not be, be creating any of this, noise pollution and everything, and be a, nuisance to all these people that was, given the oppression and all this apartheid and all this stuff, but be able to say something, compromising as it was, but at the same time be able to express it. I think that was quite amazing. But then I also asked the students, what do you think? Where is this music now? Because I'm not seeing it in public spaces anymore. If you look at Iskatamia as a genre, you can never, separate it from what Joseph Shabalala did. Another example of individuals within our, our society who make it out there and create somehow just out of their own volition, to make these contacts and become big and actually carry us along with them. So I as much as we're talking about the legacy of Solomon Linda, I think had it not been a situation where there was a musician like Joseph Shabalala, who composed in that genre quite a body of compositions, that we could actually say, okay, this is a definitive sound of what Tatamia is. And in terms of the atmosphere, the outlook as well, the dress sense, and also just the depiction of this thing of Ukatama and Totoza and all of that stuff. It's through what Lady Split Bambazo portrayed for us. And because of that experience, then we are able, as educators as well in these institutions, to be able to say, okay, here are the parameters of what Iskatamia is about in terms of harmony and stuff like that. I was also doubting that we are able to continue with this genre, outside of what Lady Split Bambazo has done, given that it's not anywhere in South Africa at the moment. You hear everything else. You hear Mapiano, you hear, the DJs, you hear everything else. But this one you don't hear. And I'm basing my thing on the fact that it was premised, the way it was started. It was started, around oppressive situations. Hence the word tatami. And now the question is South Africans are the people, who are, practicing this kind of music in their culture, are they still, willing to subject themselves to tippy-toeing when we are free now to express ourselves? You can stomp on the ground. Indlamu is alive. It's what gets presented now in South Africa. I live here in the South Coast. Every heritage celebration, Indlamu is on the forefront, even the dress and everything. There's nothing that gets, anywhere closer to dressing up
Andile, I'm not sure whether you're frozen. Andile, you were saying your concluding remarks. I'm not sure you're frozen. But I had the question loud and clear. If in a free South Africa, sisaqathamile na. So the question, I think, goes back to DDG of the process of going and celebrating the genre. As Andile, the academic person in the group, is telling us that he's not seeing it everywhere. Is the department still supporting? Yes, we do know the genre came out of an oppressive situation, people tiptoeing as opposed to dancing in Lamu, kicking up their feet up in the sky and sharply bring it down onto the rhythm. The question is, why do we want ukutatama? Why do we want to hide? Or how do we, from the oppression and the scars that Ms. Williams was talking about, resurrect and continue to showcase the scars that apartheid left with us, the scars that we've turned them into be an opportunity to reconnect in the world without losing that inheritance. The inheritance of oppression is also an inheritance that we have. It's the heritage that we have. That's why I suppose we still have the Apartheid Museum, so that we can showcase to children of the future of what happened in South Africa. So when they hear of this music, the music yokuqathama, the music of avoiding, tells you a whole story about men being bused to the mines, men being bused to the cities where they, as migration laws oppressed them even further, that they could not practice their culture. But I think more than that, I wanna go and bring this conversation that Andile talks about. And I think to do that, he talks about the music being sneaked out simply because we did not have protective laws. We did not have legislation that was positive or protecting and a whole lot of arts, artifacts and culture and music was stolen from South Africa, from Africa, and every part of Africa has a story to tell about how we lost our inheritance. Never mind the gold, never mind the diamond, but all sorts of culture. So today I'm privileged to bring to you Katlego, Advocate Katlego Malaji, an entertainment lawyer and a co-founder of Homecoming Events. And he will share with us what is it that he does to protect our assets, our intangible assets that can be easily stolen in an environment where everyone is online. Advocate, over to you.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
We're good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. By brief way of introduction, I'm Kadla Malachi. I am an entertainment law specialist. I currently head up legal and business affairs for Sony Music Africa. And, you know, when the topic of Solomon Linda was introduced, I reflected back on, you know, the story of Solomon Linda as always being told around exploitation and fairness, compensation or lack thereof. Excuse me. And for the longest time, that could have been deemed sort of, you know, the heritage of South African music, in the sense that even from a post-apartheid era, when people were no longer in the same sort of struggle, the new age or the new era needed to navigate how to shake themselves off of that stigma, how to come out of that. You know, there's often very little emphasis when we talk about Solomon Linda in this day and age on his musical brilliance, on the uniqueness of South African sounds, that even at a time such as that, in those environments, he was able to create something that could be, you know, exported, that could capture the imaginations of a global audience.
at such a scale, the potential of South African producers in determining globally palatable sounds. And this has never been the central focus of Solomon Linda's legacy, as the injustice of his exploitation overshadowed it all. In the shadow of this exploitation found its way into the modern post-apartheid music space, as you know, our musicians and the professionals behind them had to learn how to navigate, shaking that off, how to learn to navigate, doing things the right way. But you know, the true legacy of Solomon Linda is something we can all relate to a bit closer today in relation to some of the unique and globally marketable sounds similar to our Amapiano, which have grown quite prevalent. His insistence on fighting for justice beyond the grave also just spurred a certain level of appetite for, or awareness or consciousness around those things that needed to be done in the creative space, to avoid the repetition of the sort of exploitation that he suffered. And you know, from his court case beyond the grave, you know, as a new legacy and heritage for South African music, which is built in helping us to reconcile from all those errors and the lesson learned, and you know, the lessons learned from there. So as an entertainment lawyer, I've had the privilege of being able to study things that happen to the likes of Abo Solomon Linda, and find a way to articulate this to our current crop of artists and creatives, to say to them, how do we avoid it? And I'm quite excited in particular, I think, to have a positive story to tell, you know, just around the Amapiano wave in particular currently, you know, where we can safely say that a large majority of those leading that charge have learned from the heritage and, you know, from the legacy of those who had fallen into unfortunate situations. And people are striving towards, you know, hiring professionals currently in the music space. So we're not only talking about legal people, but agents, managers, lawyers, accountants. People are a lot more committed today to understanding the legal process and moving to contractual work, to paying royalties in and amongst each other, even at an indie level, you know, and entrenching that as a culture of fairness, collaborating broadly on the continent, internationally, taking pride and ownership of a unique sound, you know, being unapologetic about it as South Africans, and partnering strategically with multinationals to export the sound commercially in viable manners, you know, and in such a way building a new heritage. So that is very encouraging to say that we don't only have to look back at people like Ubablinda and lament gravely, you know, the great injustice that they've suffered, but to let all artists across the spectrum know that, you know, the saying about the one thing we've learned from history is that nobody learns anything from history. But as South Africans in the music space now, we are learning those lessons. We see people coming in, learning, wanting to know about their copyrights, wanting to know how to protect them, wanting to know how to strike the right deals, how to sign the right deals, how to market their sound and to keep it protected, you know, where artists are no longer trying to be one-stop shops, but are utilizing the broad spectrum of the professional services available to them. And so in our line of work, we're quite encouraged, and in Heritage Month in particular, to be able to look and say, we have got the potential of telling more similar stories about Imbube from a production level, but telling them in a different tone, in a different way, because we're shifting the narrative from negative to positive by educating people about how music rights work, how intellectual property works, how copyrights work, and encouraging them to partner with the relevant people to ensure that they're protected at all times, and to ensure that they conduct themselves in such a way that they themselves are not the imposters or similar to those who in the past, whether deliberately or unintentionally, contributed to creating a negative legacy or a narrative heritage around South African music. So that is where we find ourselves, quite encouraging to see that move. There's still a lot of work to be done, and that's why we call upon all professionals across the spectrum, across the industry, to lend their hand, to lend their services, to educate, to impart knowledge and wisdom, so that we can tell more stories about more Solomon Lindas, but excluding the exploitation, and tell them as positive stories of heritage, of unity, of export, of growth, and of general fairness across the industry. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Advocate. Thank you so much for those words. I think I really appreciate the work you are doing. It is correct that the new crowd, the new artist mindset has changed in South Africa, and it's big ups to people like you who ensure that to professionalize not only the creative aspect of the music, but also the professional aspect, as you have said. And part of that is really brand building. And I'm going to call upon, as we draw to a close, Ms. Tembele Ntombela, Acting CEO of Brand South Africa, to just thank everybody and share with us on her thoughts of the day and how Brand South Africa can really enhance the work you do to getting amapiano and the sounds of South African music in general out there in the world. Over to you, Stembile.
Thank you, Program Director. To the DG of the GCIS, Ms. Pumla Williams, Ms. Nondumisa Mandisa, the Deputy Director General of Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mr. Mthandazo Gatya, Ms. Tiblet Dejeni, Ms. Shamiso Hlachwayo, Advocate Katlego Malaji, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Indeed, it has been a wonderful afternoon. We've all been inspired by the true competitiveness of who we are as the African continent. And having listened carefully to the discussions today, it is clear that the people, the culture, the heritage are key components, not only of a country's brand, but that of the continent, because I think we've proven to the world, and from today's discussions, it's very clear that we have shown the global stage that we truly have an authentic history as well as heritage. The DG spoke about an importance of alignment, particularly in the African continent. And I can safely tell you that we can win with alignment by focusing more on the ties that binds us and celebrating those ties, which is starting to come alive in our music. It's starting to come alive, in the film industry. So in the creative art space, so really zoning in onto our heritage. That is what we need to excel on. The heritage clearly is an encapsulation of our history, of our uniqueness, of our identity. And it's no surprising that this month, as we end the Heritage Month, we celebrate the legacy of Solomon Linda. There's a commonly used phrase by many that says people are the nation's greatest asset. It's true. Indeed, they are. And today was a true epitome of that statement. This alludes to the reality that human capital is the power we have to influence how the world sees us. The program director speaks about how Brand South Africa can assist in this regard. Ours is very simple. Ours is to sell and promote and tell the South African story. And I believe there are many, many Solomons out there that have come alive. And I saw that Mthandazo is just one of many. Ours then is to showcase the world. When we speak of a South Africa that inspires new and different ways, what do we mean? And really focusing on the heritage and creative arts as a pillar is one of our greatest strengths. we, the people of South Africa, continue really to fly our flag. Not only that, we are at the helm of our continent's image. We also play an integral part there. It is therefore important that we continue to celebrate and recognize the cultural, social wealth and diversity of our continent while fostering a shared sense of construction and performance. So the creative arts is an important contribution towards our culture and our identity. It continues to shape South Africa's reputation and image globally. As I've alluded earlier on, our competitiveness and how the world sees South Africa currently is heavily weighted on the creative arts pillar, which is an encapsulation of our heritage as well as our identity. Mthandazo, you have received an international nod. What an achievement. And for that, we applaud you for staying true to a genre that speaks to you and speaks to your heritage. Thank you for allowing your truth to flow through your music and to tell the story to the world. We have all witnessed the power of African creative arts on a global popular culture. Its impact is undeniable, and international visibility is growing very strong. We see this on everyday news, whether it is an artist from South Africa or it's an artist from Nigeria. It continues to show that collaboratively, and if we focus on the ties that bind us, we have the strength to deal with our challenges and even bring up solutions to our own challenges as the rest of the continent. And as beautifully articulated in the AU anthem, it says, let us all unite and celebrate together. Let us all unite and sing together. Oh, sons and daughters of Africa, let us make Africa the tree of life. I can tell you that we are truly on the right path, and I'm very, very confident that we are going far as the African continent. So in conclusion, I'd really like to thank the DG of GCIS, our speakers, for spearheading today's conversation around such an important pillar that has become the continent's competitive advantage globally. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for lending us your ears. May we continue to be driven by a deep love of our country, by celebrating, safeguarding, and strengthening our heritage. We are, after all, the forefront of how our continent is experienced, and we carry the values and ethos of our people on a daily basis. Let the spirit of Ubuntu come alive. Let the legacy of our forefathers, because as I've said, there are so many of them. Let us celebrate them. Let us be the one to carry the baton to the next generations to come. Let us be proud Africans. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you once again, Diabulela. And to our panelists today, we really, really appreciate your time, your insights, and the value and the stories that you've shared with us today. My name is Ayanda Holo, GCIS Director for Media Engagement in the International Space. So ngaloma zwinditi ngazozbini, merci beaucoup, tanki baya. We will play now the brand South Africa video of the 10 reasons why you should come to South Africa.
We invite you to a place in Africa that is like no other, the cradle of civilization, the genesis of humankind, where it all began, where new ways of doing business happen every day, and where the world watches our talent in fascination. A place where Nobel Prize winners have inspired a new generation of winners who are leaving their mark on global stages. We invite you to a place that celebrates diversity, culture, and heritage. The only country in the world that is as colorful as the rainbow, where humanity is expressed through our blend of 11 official languages. Headquarters to top South African and international investment banks, financial and legal consultants. Come set foot in the richest square mile in Africa and host your business events at one of the largest convention centers on the continent. Growth is everywhere. South Africa is rich in mineral resources and manufacturing expertise. We embrace global innovation and technological trends. With an array of world-class infrastructure, everyone is invited to do business. visit, explore, and live in our beautiful country. We're one of the world's preferred travel destinations. A winning country where all dreams are valid and realized, where we always come together and build a better future and country. Come invest with us and inspire new possibilities with us. Believe in South Africa. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
10 reasons why you should invest in South Africa. Number 1, hot emerging market. Number 2, the number 1 diversified economy in Africa. Number 3, the largest presence of multinationals on the African continent. Number 4, progressive constitution and independent judiciary. Number 5, favorable market access to global markets. Number 6, abundant natural resources. Number 7, advanced financial services and banking sector. Number 8, world-class infrastructure and logistics. Number 9, young, trainable labor force. And number 10, excellent quality of life.
Plato said, "Who will guard the guardians? Who are our guardians? Do they care about us? Are they accountable for their actions, or are they above the law? Who elects these guardians? Us? Them? Someone else? And if they guard us, who will guard them? Who will guard the guardians? The